Hello, everyone. I hope everybody had a good day today. I wanted to talk a little bit this evening about having other people do things that disempower you as a parent. Through the family court system, something that I have experienced because other people felt inclined to assert power and control and dominance over me in terms of my ability to parent my children. As a result of that, I now do not see my children. I request to see them, and if any of you have followed my content, you're aware that my requests to see my children are not complied with by the other party. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the medical care of my children. I have very strong beliefs, which I'm entitled to have, specific to vaccination and the dangers that are inherent with certain vaccines. That might prompt people to put labels on me, like anti vaxxer or what have you. But the facts are that I've looked at a lot of information. There's certainly a ton more information I could look at to be even more informed than I have been. But as a parent starting off, I didn't know all of the adverse events that were attributed to the immunization schedule for children. I didn't know that it has been legally proven in a court of law that the increase in autism rates, that there is a strong correlation between the increase in immunization in children and the increase in autism, specifically in boys. So I have looked into this at a pretty deep level because I wanted to be informed as a parent because I love my children very much and I did not want them to be harmed in any way, shape, or form. This next thing that I'm going to say is probably going to bother some people, but I have to speak my truth. My feelings about the COVID shots are the following. They are experimental. I looked at information available from Dr. Robert Malone, and based upon his expertise, I'm not basing this on my own expertise, I'm basing it on his, because of the level of expertise he has, I would never, ever give that to a child. In fact, I wouldn't give it to an adult because of all the adverse events that I'm seeing. It can't be proven to be effective as far as we've seen in the ways that people have still come down with illness. And a vaccine is supposed to prevent you from getting an illness. So there's been a lot of debate about whether or not it should even be called a vaccination. There are people that refer to it as a form of gene therapy instead. I think the important thing is we know that it's causing a lot of health complications in people. We know that people have died from these injections. And I think early on, when no one understood the extent of the damage that could be caused by the virus, we didn't really understand how lethal it was. So there was a certain amount of fear in everyone. But as this has played out, and we can see now that people that did not get the jabs are tending to fare better than people that decided to. All I can say is that the Virginia court system did not facilitate my involvement with my children and their medical care. They barred my involvement to such an extent that I received an email from my ex stating that he had gotten my children jabbed and that he also planned on getting them boosters. I was never consulted. Nothing was told to me about that being done. I don't know whether or not that occurred because unfortunately I was dealing and continue unfortunately to some extent to deal with someone who has a problem with compulsive lying. So it's possible that that was not done, but it is possible that he chose to do that and that I had no say in the matter. I did follow up that correspondence I received from him with a request for where that was done, when that was done, and the batch number information so that I could research it further to try to find out if there were any records of adverse reactions to the certain batches that they were exposed to. He never responded. I can only assume that that was done intentionally to upset me. What I have learned through my journey in life is that it is not possible to control the actions of other people. But I will say that if any harm comes to my children as a result of that medical decision that I was not included in, the responsible parties are my ex, the guardian ad litem, the judges that facilitated this, and the forensic psychologist that facilitated these actions. I would also say that my former attorneys are responsible for not advocating better on my behalf, to have more involvement and more inclusion in the lives of my children to help to keep them safe. I pray every single day that no harm comes to my children. And I have been left powerless as I watch these people do what they claim is in the best interest of my children, which to me appears to be to put them in a state of medical dependency. Well, maybe that's how they want to live, but that's not a healthy way to live. And the people that are responsible for these things have names and addresses. And I don't have to see to it that anything is done to them, because the fact of the matter is, he's in charge. And he's going to make sure that this is set right. You can't do this to people. You have no right to make children medical experiments. And if you've done that, may God forgive you, because I won't.